So here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Rent collection, okay? And this is the portion where we're all in business for this, right? Because when you get paid, I get paid. And again, I don't get paid until you get paid. So when it comes to rent collection, it's very, very important for us, and you will find that we're different in that regard from other companies. We don't play about your money. We do not play about your income. Why? Because we don't play about ours. And again, we don't get paid until you get paid. So we find that to be a very important aspect for you, but also for us. It keeps us accountable for making sure we keep the main thing, okay? But one of the things you want to take a look at in your handy resource guide here, you'll see a calendar on there, kind of like a mock calendar. And what we have on there for you is when rent is due, when is it considered late, what are the fees kind of thereafter for late rent, and then when should we start really considering or looking at eviction, okay? So for us, rent is due the first of every month. Rent is due the first of every month. It does not matter when your tenant moved in. So if your tenant moved in on the 15th of the month, their rent is not due on the 15th of every month, it's due on the 1st of every month. Okay, so first thing we kind of want to clear up and get out of the way is what happens with that prorated amount. Okay, so if your tenant moves in the 15th of the month, how you see that kind of flush out is they're always required to pay a full first month's rent and security deposit whenever they move in. It's kind of like that goodwill payment that they're willing and able to pay that rental amount. And also, because we withhold that first month's rent for your leasing fee, which is equal to a month's rent, then that makes it easier for you throughout that process. So they see that you see that prorated amount for the 15th through the 30th or 31st of the month, whatever month it lands in, you see that amount in their second month. Okay, so that's how that works. So again, they pay a full first month's rent, they pay a full security deposit, whatever we decide that is, depending on their credit and background, and then in order to move in, and then if they have some sort of prorated, if they moved in any other day other than the first of the month, you'll see that prorated amount the second month. Okay, and usually we remind you of that before your second month comes, so you know what to expect to show up in your bank account. Okay, so all rent is due on the first of every month. All rent is due on the first of every month, whether it's that full amount or it's that prorated amount. All rent is due on the first of the month, and then we give them till the second. Okay, so everybody has things happen, so we give them until the second. But on the third, for us, they are late. They are considered late, and we do charge them a late fee on the third of the month. So on the first, rent is due. The second is kind of their grace period, and on the third, there's a late fee. And the reason why we do that is because a lot of residents will kind of play the system, and when when you're kind of finagling your bills and things of that nature, and you're trying to make ends meet, that sometimes happens for people. You do whatever's convenient, you'll do whatever is allowed. So for us, we've set up a structure to let them know that kind of messing with the rent payment or paying it on the 15th of the month, those sort of things aren't necessarily allowed. And if they do occur, they're going to wind up paying for those things, because whenever that does happen, if you're late on getting your funds, then you in some way, whether it's time, energy, resources, whatever the case may be, you also pay for that as well. So we do charge in order to encourage payment as quickly as possible. So it's due on the first, second is the grace period, the third they're getting a late fee, and then it's $5 for each additional day after that, and you'll see that kind of on your little mock calendar. Okay, at that point, on that third day, we're sending them a 3-day notice, and usually we do kind of a soft version of that at first. We'll send it by email on the 3rd. On the 5th, we're posting that 3-day notice, physically going to the property and posting the 3-day notice. So those are things that you can see, and it's very evident. The reason why we do that, and the reason why we're very strict and very structured in that regard, is because we want all of our owners to get the payments in their account no later than the 8th. Okay, meaning showing in your account. So we begin processing payments on the 7th. It only takes a day for everything to process, and that allows all of the payments to kind of clear. It only takes a day to process, so on the 8th, you see it in your account. Okay, and we pay a little bit extra to do that, but we've done that because, again, some of our landlords requested that and asked us if there was any way they can get paid faster. We did some research, switched some banks, and we were able to make that happen. And we're happy to say that we've been able to do that. So on the 7th, processing begins. On the 8th, it's actually in your account. Now, some of the things that we've done, and that makes us different. We are not your bare minimum property management company. We're just not. Okay. So a lot of times when people ask us to reduce our fees and do all these other things, and that company over there is doing that, we don't look at all of that because, again, we've stuffed and packed your services with value. Example of that, when it comes to rent, we've had some people who were in the hospital and just couldn't get rent to the office. They were, afraid to put it in the mail that it was going to get lost. They couldn't get rent to the office. We actually went and picked it up. We had some people who were going out of town. Those sort of things were said, hey, I can get you the payment, on the second, the night of, but I don't want to be charged. We actually went and picked it up. So those are things that we do. That's no extra charge to you, but that's centered around you and us, keeping the main thing and making sure you get your income. So we will go above and beyond in that sense to work with your resident, because if we have to go to the property and post a notice anyway, a 3-day notice, and do all of that, we might as well schedule an appointment or schedule a meeting or a meetup in order to pick up your money. Okay, so we again have just a different mentality and a different mindset when it comes to around management, and it really just goes back to, we don't believe in bare minimum management. Okay, we believe in doing what is necessary for your property in order to deliver and completely deliver on the services that we've promised you. Okay, so I won't belabor that, but that is what we believe in. And as far as starting the eviction process, we begin speaking with attorneys kind of right away, depending on the reason that we get for non-payment and how well we're able to confirm that reason. But the other thing is, starting on the 10th, we recommend to start the eviction process. One of the things that's really difficult for rent by owners, or if you're managing the property on your own, one of the things that's difficult is kind of mixing the human nature of things with the business aspect of things. And of course, we do all of that, and we consider ourselves to do a great job balancing. However, you have an income property in order to make income. What you find a lot of times, or what I found in the past, is that landlords will allow the residents to make several excuses over and over and over again about why they can't pay rent. And they wind up stuck, and they wind up in a situation where 1 month has gone by, and 2 months have gone by, and 3 months have gone by, and they still haven't caught up, and now they find themselves kind of in a pickle. So we don't do that, and we make it very, very evident to your resident that is not allowed here at our property. We keep the lines of communication open, and we'll always relay that information to you, but that's something that we're very strict about when it comes to their part, and then making sure that they fulfill their agreement is the rent cycle and that part of things. Okay, the Friday of every month, we're looking at your payments. We're really trying to figure out if there's anything in the accounts, if it's settled, we're pushing that out to you. Okay, and that brings us to the late fees. So we do charge these late fees, but what happens with them? We have a lot of landlords who are sort of upset sometimes when the company keeps the late fees, and we actually retain 50% of the late fees, and we actually send you 50% of the late fees. So what happens with the 50% that we retain? Well, for one, in order to collect your rent, whenever it doesn't come in on time, we actually have to increase the amount of resources that we're using in order to ensure that you're getting paid on time. The other thing that we're doing is we're using those funds to get you paid faster. Okay, so whenever it comes to our bank, if we're sending out bulk payments or batch payments, then we're charged less with the more that we're sending out at once. But if it's single payments, then we wind up being charged more in order to do that. So what we do is, instead of saying, okay, we're going to wait and just hold these funds until the next landlord payout, we actually use a portion of that 50% that we retain, along with increasing resources. We use the other portion of that in order to get you paid faster. So we just pay the bank to send your money on time, okay? And then you actually get the remaining 50% of that, because again, when you don't receive your payments on time, there are certain obligations and commitments that you're unable to meet. So we want you to be compensated for that as well as best as we can. And then you also receive a monthly statement. So generally in practice, you'll see the first of the month you're actually receiving the statement for the previous month, so you can see everything, and that is stored in your online electronic portal. All right, so if you have any additional questions on rent collection, I know that is a major part of decisions that people make, and just you have an income property to make income. If you have any additional questions on that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll always answer those. If you have some what if situations, feel free to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to help. See you soon.